Hi, what's going on, y'all, man? So some big time news coming out of Clemson. They are obviously making a change, and they're going to try to hire Tom Allen, who obviously had a great year with the Penn State Nittany Lions. Now, when we look at Penn State and what they did this year, as you guys can see, number 8 in points allowed per game, only 16.5, right? And 6th in the country in yards allowed per game. So as a top end defense, I mean, you've seen it even against, Notre Dame. Obviously, they lost that game, but I just think the offense couldn't make enough plays against that Notre Dame defense. But you look at the guys that they had that was really good this year. Obviously, Abdul Carter, who's going to be a top draft pick. I think easily top 5, top 10. For him, he's an absolute game wrecker. Had over 11 plus sacks this past year. AJ Harris is another lockdown defensive back for them that had a pretty good season overall, man in the back end of the defense, right? You've seen the playoff run, only allowed 12 points, right? Ended up beating Boise State 31-14, and they ended up beating SMU pretty good. Overall, pretty good playoff run, a really good defense overall. And the reason why Penn State was so good this past year, getting to, I guess you could say, a Final Four or to the semifinals, man, just like I said, couldn't make enough plays offensively. Obviously, Nick Singleton had a good game against Notre Dame, but, a really sound defense. And obviously used to be the former coach of Indiana before coming over. But just in your first year to have that kind of a unit, I think they were near top 30 passing defense as well. This is one of the best defenses in the country, right? When you look at, obviously, you got to throw Texas in there, Notre Dame in there, Ohio State, but Penn State also had a very sound defense. Now, what is he coming to basically replace? Now, I would say a pretty solid defense for Clemson. I wouldn't say good, I wouldn't say elite, but I would say solid. Like, I felt like they made enough plays in the playoffs, but you've seen some of the deficiencies come, kind of more, into the fray, right? When you look at the obviously the Texas game, they gave up all those points. Obviously winning for the most part the SMU game, but allowing them to come back with the pass defense getting kind of torched a little bit with Kevin Jennings at the quarterback position. So those things like that, I think they want to clean up. And now you look at a guy in a Tom Allen that has this pedigree and a guy you can depend on that's looking to change this unit. Let's look at the top via CBS Sports, right? As you guys can see, the Clemson Tigers were 69th in FBS in total defense. Finished the season ranked 85th against the run and 53rd against the pass. So that's what he's looking to kind of shore up, is that run defense that was not so good, and then the total defense that they had this past year. And when Clemson, when they've made long runs in the playoffs or they've made championship dynasty type runs, they've had a pretty good to elite defense. And it's not that they don't have the personnel, right? You got Avion Terrell, but he struggled a little bit this year. Had a pretty solid year, but struggled some. You got a true freshman that's really good, obviously, in Sammy Brown, who you're going to depend on. A defensive line that needs a little bit more push, a little bit more potency as far as rushing the passer and things like that. But a solid secondary coming back. Khalil Barnes will be back for another year. He had a pretty decent year, I thought, for the Tigers. But you're going to have to replace some linebacker roles, especially with, Barrett Carter no longer going to be there now. So it's just some things he's going to have to shore up. But I think he has the talent, to easily, be able to come in and make an instant impact year one. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a top 10 defense. That's not easy to do, to come from, obviously, top 70 in total defense to a top 10. But if he can get this unit to a top 35, top 30 type defense, that makes the world of a difference, especially with Cade Klubnik coming back for another year. And a lot of those weapons that was doing pretty good, the Brian Wescos of the world, in that receiving core with Williams and everybody else, you feel pretty good, about your team and how it kind of going forward. So that's what he's coming here to do. So I'd say for Penn State, this obviously is a tough loss. One of the better defensive minds, I think, in college football is obviously leaving. So it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do as far as replacing him for their really good defense they had this past year. But for Clemson, this is an A hire, I think, and it's only going to make you better and more competitive in the ACC. And I'm saying more competitive. They just won an ACC championship against SMU. So I think their standard is, hey, we want to make the college football playoff, which they did, check, but we want to go up against the better teams and be able to win these type of games. When we play the Texas of the world or the SECs or Penn States or Notre Dames, whoever it may be, when we go against these teams, we want to be competing and winning these games. So I think that's why Dabo made the move. And it's a great culture fit. He's a no BS type of coach. And, he's going to hold everybody to a certain standard. So I think next year you're going to see a very good Clemson defense, even better, than last year.